Good morning. Glad you could tune in today. Hey, I want to share some things from some of the Old Testament prophets. We like the things that say that the future is going to be great. I'm sorry, is it recording? Is that thing moving?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. Start over, yeah. I just couldn't see it moving. I swore I moved it, but... Good morning. Glad you could tune in today. Hey, I've been reading some things from what we call the minor prophets. And so sometimes they have words of judgment, that correction is coming, and then also they have these prophecies that someday everything's going to be wonderful. Which one would you like? Well, I think we know what we would like is when everything is wonderful. Well, in Micah 4:4 it says, everyone will live in peace and prosperity, enjoying their own grapevines and fig trees, and there will be nothing to fear. And the Lord of Heaven's armies has made this promise. Well, that's a great one. And I mean, we don't normally think about grapes and figs and things like that, but it's a sign that the shelves are not barren at the grocery store. It's like there's plenty of stuff there. We're kind of removed from that. But then you flip forward a little bit, and in the book of Habakkuk, and we've been studying Daniel on Sunday mornings, and we know that the Babylonians came and they put Jerusalem under siege, and they took a lot of people into exile, and eventually they basically burned the city down. And so that was really bad. But prior to that, the prophet Habakkuk says, the word of the Lord is, I'm raising up the Babylonians, a cruel and violent people. They will march across the world and conquer. Well, and then Habakkuk, it's a very interesting short book because he says these things, and then he has these questions like surely you don't plan to wipe us out, and that wasn't God's plan. And you read the book of Daniel and you realize, no, eventually he's going to bring them back, and he's going to do a great thing through Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But there's these different things that are going on. So when the world isn't the way you want it to be, how do you respond to that? Well, very interesting about the Micah with the figs and the grapes. Well, let's take a look at the very end of Habakkuk's book. Even though the fig trees have no blossoms, and there are no grapes on the vine, even though the olive crop fails, and the fields lie empty and barren, even though the flocks die in the fields and the cattle barns are empty, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes me as sure-footed as a deer, able to tread upon the heights. So I was out for a hike a little while ago, a little bit of like a run and a walk. I don't run a whole lot, but I was up in New Buffalo, Michigan. And I go through this cornfield and then back onto this back road. It's across from the hotel where we're at. And I go back there because I hope to see deer. And I did. This time it was from a distance. But deer are amazing because, so I was just hiking yesterday at Starved Rock, and I've got my hiking stick, and at one point I've got to go across these rocks, and several of the teenagers stayed behind because they knew it was going to be a challenge for me. I got across without going into the water. On the way back, I just got that much water in my shoes. But it's not easy for me. But you watch a deer with 4 skinny little legs, and they just like bounce all over the place, and they'd have no problem with those rocks. And that's what Habakkuk is saying. He's saying that even when everything is wrong, when the world is falling apart, hell, handbasket, the works, he says, the sovereign Lord is my strength. I will rejoice. He makes me as sure-footed as a deer. Oh, to be as sure-footed as a deer. I didn't used to need a hiking stick. If I didn't have it yesterday, I would have taken a bath. But God wants to give us that in our spirit, to be sure-footed even when everything seems like it's wrong. And in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4, a verse that is used many times in the New Testament, and says, but the righteous will live by faith. It's not by sight. The Apostle Paul says that. It's by faith. May you be sure-footed as a deer on rocks, in water, in your spiritual life. God bless you. Have a great week.